Sego KahnawakeTV, Gina Deer for another edition of Chiefs Uncut. I wanted to bring a little information to the community about some of the things that have currently happened within my files at MCK. One of the things that I had done recently was a presentation to the Standing Committee on Gaming. There is going to be a change in the legislation for single sports betting and the single sports betting private members bill, which is C-218. We had a presentation to the Standing Committee, myself and Chief Mike DeLille. We gave the position of the Mohawk Council our concerns and our request, for consideration to some wording that would be incorporated into the amendment so that it would give a level playing field for Kahnawake and as well as other First Nations. We did the presentation along with the horse racing industry. There were two members there that also had presented. During that presentation, we were notified that a decision would be coming within the next 2 days. So that was a very quick turnaround for us. And then, unfortunately, we did not receive any accommodation or any of the terminology that we had hoped to see within that legislation be approved. However, the horse racing industry was accommodated. So it's really disappointing when you hear about all of the talks from the federal government about the most important relationship, which is that with the Indigenous population. And then here we are making a presentation on not only a gaming aspect, but really it's about economic development and, the right to self-determination. We look at funds as a way to incorporate the things that we need for self-sufficiency in this community, economically, as well as looking at what we're trying to do with jurisdiction and the Justice Act and the monies that is needed to put that into action. So there's a lot of things that were hinged upon what we were doing. It wasn't strictly gaming and revenues alone. So again, we're going to continue the fight. We were recommended by Trudeau, a letter which we had sent to Trudeau with airing our concerns, where he recommended that we continue discussions with Minister Lametti to find a workable solution. So again, we will continue to push those issues, hopefully find that workable solution, and we will be updating the community. As a matter of fact, on Friday morning, which is tomorrow, we will be having a meeting on some of the follow-up discussion and some of the work that needs to be done. So the planning goes on and the push goes on. From a provincial level, we've also been working on the framework agreement with Quebec, and that framework agreement is going to lay out the road work for all of the discussions that we need to have with Quebec on all of the different files. There are several files, whether it be health and social service, the Mercier Bridge, infrastructure. There are several files that fall under that, and we're trying to lay the framework for all of that so that we can get some actual results. What tends to happen is there's a lot of meetings but very little result. There's a lot of wordsmithing within the document we had sent to Quebec, so they reviewed it. They sent us their changes, and we are working on what was sent back to us. I have to say it was disappointing. They're kind of veering away from the rights and jurisdiction issues and trying to really base a lot of the talks on interests, the interests of KahnawakeTV. And for us, that's just not acceptable. So there's a lot of work to be done, and that will continue. Taxation is something that has been talked about for a great deal of time. We are still looking at the taxation issues. We have been notified of some of the lack of accepting of the status card in the surrounding area. So I have actually notified Minister Lafreniere about the issue. I did have a discussion locally with the mayor of Chateauguay and brought up some of the issues specific to his community. So we've opened up some dialogue to ensure that they're accepting the status card. He's willing to have further dialogue to assist to ensure that it's utilized in his city. So we're definitely trying to manage all of the issues that are brought to us despite the pandemic. Housing is another one. It's been a very contentious issue in the community in the last coming weeks. There is a lot going on with housing, though people think that there isn't. Unfortunately, in light of the pandemic, a lot of the construction that we had looked to do, it has been put off. There's repairing that needs to be done, as well as there's a lack of availability for building in spite of the plans we have. We also have the asbestos issue that we have to deal with, and I'm on a working group to try and deal with the asbestos issue because it links also to what we have as plans for housing. We have housing and membership issues that have been brought up, and we have to inform the community that membership was decided by the community and council is enforcing the decision of the community, and that's what housing bases its criteria on. So it's not really MCK, and I know it's been said out there that, well, MCK is doing this and MCK is doing that. MCK has to follow the will of the people. Membership was under review, and everything that came out of that review is what has been implemented within the system of MCK, whether it be membership or housing. So we're doing our best to follow the wishes of the people, and I know that there have been a lot of concerns. I've been taking calls, I've been fielding the concerns to the table if they're more related to the membership, and if it's housing, then I've been meeting with housing on individual basis, looking at cases, and it's not an easy task. We know there's a shortage, there's always been a shortage. It's not something new, we're trying to address it. Again, pandemic has really changed what has happened with housing, as well as the asbestos situation, because we need lands available to build. But there are plans to do all those things. I want to assure the community there was a survey that was done. We looked at the needs of the community, and there's a whole spectrum of needs, whether it be young students who can't find affordable housing, to elders who no longer want to live in a home and have to care and maintenance it. So there's a whole spectrum outside of just families, and we are taking all of that into account. So more to come. Stay safe. Ietsénhaienhs.